All right.
I'm going to move my chair over just a second.
Hello, everybody. Today
Hi.
is March 21st. I am here with Kristen Van Hauen. And we just wanted to talk today about hope in spite of darkness and scariness. So we're having a little coffee chat. I got my favorite color mug, my Health Coach Institute mug.
Mine says best mom of the year every year running.
I love it.
And I bought it for myself, just so you know. Sometimes you just got to pat yourself on the back.
It's like Michael Scott's world's greatest boss cup that he bought for himself.
Right? That's what I'm saying. If you think it, you will be it.
That's right. Oh, man. So, Kristen, gosh, we met in cosmetology school. I don't know if I want to say the year. It's been a while.
No kidding.
We look really good for 30, don't we? Yeah.
We do.
We're 30-ish.
30 plus 16, whatever. We won't mention that.
Yeah. So yeah, we met in cosmetology school. You were a couple classes ahead of me, but then we ended up being roommates, and over the years, you know, in and out of each other's lives, and it's just awesome. We always seem to like reconnect at just the right time.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've said it to you before. I just remember the day that we moved in together and we were like sitting on the hallway and the floor. I don't know why we were on the floor, but we were just putting all of our stuff in our, vanity closet that's right outside. And we're like, we're going to be friends forever. Like when we get old. And I just think it's funny how we met and we just knew like this person's my jam, I mean, it's like, it was just indefinite. Like that's my jam. That's my girl right there. So it's been cool. Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk to Kristen today because she has been on quite a journey. And so I want to make sure everybody knows where to find you, how to kind of follow the journey that you've been on, because it's so inspiring. Even recently, the videos that you've been doing with your kids during this crazy time, I love it. Like, we got to make use of this time and let's use it in a positive way. So let everybody know how they can find you on social media and tell us about your journey.
So my name is Kristen Van Hauen. That's my Facebook. That's how you can get a hold of me. That's Kristen Van Hauen. And on Instagram, it's called I Got This Fitness, and it's I.got.this.fitness. So I go back and forth on Instagram and Facebook a lot lately. I've been on Facebook. I started my journey. I'm coming up on 2 years, and I kind of feel like it's my sobriety date. I actually started the entire journey 4 years ago. I woke up and I said, you know what? I don't know why I'm taking the way I'm taking. I don't know why I continue to abuse food the way that I do. I've been abusing food since I was 8 years old. And for those of you who do not know what that is, it's basically just a coping mechanism when you're stressed out. We eat. It's pretty simple. And a lot of people just don't acknowledge it. They just think, oh, I have a problem. I can't control myself. Wendy and I were talking about that earlier, and that's what kind of made me think about having systems in place to help support you daily, and a routine will help you not fall into that horrible trap of I suck. Why did I do that again? Because let me tell you what, I still struggle with it every single day. I call it when I used today, because it's very much a term in using drugs. Like, you're trying to set yourself in a positive way, and you're trying not to slip and have those moments, but we do. And trying to become aware of what using looks like. What does it feel like? What kind of mood and mindset am I in? What foods trigger me? What emotions or situations trigger me to make me want to use are all a part of awareness that I started 4 years ago. I started to go to a therapist. We do what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a fancy word of saying we're just getting in there figuring out why we tick. I thought this was like the aha of therapy, but it's actually just something that makes you tick, like figuring out why your behaviors are the way that they are. So that started, and I went, every 2 weeks for the first 6 months, and then went every 2 to 3 weeks thereafter for about 2 years. And then I jumped into finally saying, I deserve better. A lot of it was I was completely broken in the sense that I was so physically broken from trying to do hair forever. I did hair for about 60 hours a week for many, many years. And the physical pain that I dealt with every day was just kind of unbearable. I mean, I had migraines between 3 to 5 days a week. And trying to be, you know, social and fun and having migraines really sucked. And I wasn't very good with my family at home. So I decided to jump in. And at the time I had a torn meniscus. I said, I don't care what I have. I'm just going to be better. And I think CrossFit's really cool. And so I walked into a CrossFit gym. I had actually tried 2 different gyms in a year and quit because I didn't feel like I was a good fit. I had people look at my size. They didn't look at me as a person, and they kind of treated me as such. I've been active my whole life. I've always, most of my life, continued to walk 2 to 3 days a week, most of my life. But when you look at me, I was 301 pounds. So people just kind of saw that person. They didn't see that I've been heavy my whole life, but I've been very active. You don't have to be really trim necessarily to be an active person. Not condoning people to sit on their couch or anything, but people all look different, and that's okay that we look different. My body, the things I can do with my body, even at the weight that I am, people are like, wow, she can actually move. But so yeah, that's kind of what got me to going at it 2 years ago. And I've always been a person, like, I'm inspired by other people's silly videos. So that's why I started making silly videos. You know, I'm not comedy relief. Part of it is me just, you know, trying to be a tough girl, like, look at me, I can lift. But it's also a really strong sense of pride. Like, looking back at those videos, I wish I would have taken more videos when I first started, because I couldn't even get up off the ground, you know, without excruciating pain. And plus my physical body just didn't know like how, because I'd become so sedentary because the pain was so great. So it's funny to see me get up off and, you know, off the ground now. And, you know, I mean, I have a long way to go still. I've been doing it for 2 years. So yeah.
Well, first of all, I too have always had challenges with food. And I think that's having food kind of be your drug of choice is hard because it's socially acceptable, right? You can be using and it's not obvious because everybody
Right.
has to eat. So it's really hard because it's socially acceptable to go out and hog out on nachos and it's really hard when you are trying to eat healthy. People, I have felt more peer pressure with food than I ever have with drug or alcohol. Like when I've been trying to eat healthy and I'll go to a party, it's like, hey, Wendy, why aren't you eating this? Oh, have this. Oh, can't you just have one? And, you know, I have issues with dairy and gluten, and I can't just have one. I mean, it
Yeah.
screws me up for weeks. And so I think, now I'm not trying to downplay how hard it is to have challenges with drugs and alcohol at all. That, I mean, that's a whole nother story, right? But with food, it's hard because everything we do revolves around food. You go to a funeral, you eat food. I mean, it's
I
hard.
call it happy, sad, glad, or mad. You know, I mean, we eat happy, sad, glad, or mad. There's just so many different, it's a very, very large dimension of when we're stimulated to want to do that. That's really hard. I've not been very public in my life about my struggles with a certain drug when I was 19 to 21 years old. But having gone through that experience and having kicked that habit, we don't need to get into that because you were around me during that time, Wendy, so you're aware of that. Food and controlling that addiction is a million times harder.
Yes.
And people say, why? I'm like, well, you can get rid of the people who are your friends, because let me tell you, the day you decide to stop doing a certain drug or stop having that behavior, people don't care. They don't care. My phone stopped ringing. The people that you think love you, they don't. Yeah. They're just users that want to have a user to use with. They're not friends. And so you can clear yourself out of those people. You can move away from those people. But food is always there. People who want to hang out and eat with you are abundant. So, you know, I had a friend of mine years ago, he lost 85 pounds. And, you know, we kind of had that conversation about having fat friends. You know, he and I at a very young age at, you know, 19, 21 years old, we would come home from working at this restaurant, and we would just bring pounds of food with us, like we'd sit down and just gorge ourselves. So basically we're, binging, but we did it together. So like, whatever, right? It doesn't, whatever, we're just having fun. But when he changed his lifestyle, it was an interesting dynamic in our friendship. And I had to right away realize and recognize, like, no, he's legit. Like, this is not I don't want to bash any kind of weight loss system, but this isn't a quick fix where, you're just going to meetings and we're going to lose this fast 80 pounds, because people lose weight fast and then they can gain it back fast. And he actually had that happen several times in his life, but this time was the last time. He'd been in the hospital for something, got out and said, I'm done with this. And so for me, getting over the things I had gotten over when I was 21, I looked at him and I recognized that in a different way. Like, this guy's done. Like, it's just like somebody done using alcohol or drugs. It's like, I'm just done with that. And if you're going to be a friend in my life, you're going to respect the fact that I want to go eat at Palmer's and I want to have a really nice lunch. I don't want to go eat at Fazoli's or, something like that. Yeah, gorge yourselves on breadsticks. So he was somebody who inspired me many years ago. And I kept waiting for the aha. That's the other thing too, is that, I hear, Oprah Winfrey talk about that aha. All the years I would sit and watch Oprah Winfrey. I remember even back when you and I lived together, it was a Monday. I had the day off and I just kept praying, like, when am I going to get my aha? She had a trainer, I think his name was David Green at the time. She wrote a book. That was kind of her first attempt at doing it really healthy. And I just thought, okay, someday I'm going to get my aha. And, it's, yes, we can get our ahas, but then you have to take action on the aha. For me, it was pain that pushed me to that point. That made me go, I'm done with this. But I mean, I also sold my salon, after, a really beautiful time. And then one of the most stressful times of my life. And then after I sold that just kind of gave me the freedom of going, okay, let's like dive in here and figure this out.
You know what I think is interesting? I think we expect for this aha moment to be, so a lot of times I feel like the aha moment leading up to it are these little nudges. I feel like God's kind of tapping us on the shoulder, like trying to get our attention, but we're too busy. I'm too busy, so I don't hear it. And oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Most of the time, these aha moments come from pain.
Right.
Pain is, if you think about it, when the stove is hot and we touch it, our brain says, that's hot. You don't want to do that.
Right.
That's the best way you can learn. Your mom can tell you, don't touch that, don't touch that. But until you touch that hot stove and learn it for yourself, oh, wow, that was hot. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
To me, that's what these terrible moments are. It's like a way to really like smack us in the butt. And I feel like that's what's happening right now. Like, I feel all of this stuff that's happening is scary and everybody's afraid, but this is the time to be like, what can I do? Like, things are scary right now. We have time. Am I going to let this situation be fearful and scary and run around like a chicken with my head cut off? Or am I going to sit and be quiet and hear what God's trying to tell me? Like, how can I improve myself with this downtime?
Right. And your point is sitting and being quiet. I mean, it's been said many times in spiritual realms, whether you're Buddha, whether you're Christian, quiet is important. For me, I couldn't be quiet for a long time because it was uncomfortable with the stuff I had going on in my mind and whatever. But the first couple of days I was home, I was very quiet. The only activity I really was on Facebook were making videos to try to make people smile because that's my power. That's what I know I can do. But my opinions on all of it, just they weren't really put out there because I needed to just stop and listen, and I needed to kind of sort my thoughts and see how I felt about it. But it comes back to having those systems in place and creating a daily activity and a daily routine that helps you get back to that. In yoga, they say get back to your breath, because when you're in yoga or you're in meditation, your mind wanders and then you start to trickle in, oh my gosh, I suck at this. I can't get my mind quieted. Guess what? Everybody has that. It's just like stress right now. Everybody has that stress, but get back to your breath or get back to your routine. Like for us, right away out of the gate, I'm like, what I do have control over today is I can work out. and I can engage my children in working out, and we can have fun with this, and we can grab our tablets. My God, we have like 7 tablets in our house, I swear. And so, my kid, he taught me how to use time-lapse video. So that was really fun. So number one was workout. And, this morning, as I was kind of thinking to prepare for this, I wrote down 3 things that keep me positive every day. But before I get into that, I guess I want to share this really powerful thing. You cannot make changes in your life or live a happy life alone.
No, thank you.
You have to reach out, whether that is, again, Buddha, God, whatever it is that needs you, helps you get there. You can't do it alone, because how our brains are wired, we just innately can go down the negative route really fast. Yep. And it's too easy to go there really, really, really fast. So when, for me, I reached out, I said, when my husband said to me, I don't care what it takes, I don't care what money you have to spend, respectfully. Okay. I didn't go to a spa for, $30,000 for 12 weeks and figure it out. I said, okay, what can we make reasonable in our budget? And just, why did I need him to tell me that? Going out to other people and helping you in ways that you can't do. Like, I know a lot about psychology. I'm a stinking hairdresser, but going to an actual psychologist that helps me find systematic ways to get over that stuff that's happening, or that how do we override that negative thought process, is like everything. So I just wanted to share that, because that was a huge, impactful time in my life, is learning how to reach out, because I'm a healer and I'm a helper. But for me to actually go get help so that I could heal was like a really big deal. Yeah.
We all have a blind spot when it comes to ourselves. It's so easy to give advice to another person, but we don't always do it for ourselves. So that's why I believe coaches are important. That's why I believe hairstylists are awesome, because we can see the version of you that maybe you don't see yet.
Yes.
And I think God built us that way. I think he built us this way, that we need him and we need other people.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so awesome, that we have technology right now still, and to see everybody reaching out, seeing the videos of people playing music from their balconies, and I just love it. And so I've been trying to seek out all the positive stories that are happening right now. I'm not watching the news. I mean, I'm listening locally to make sure I know what's going on, but you get to choose what you click on your computer. You get to choose what you read. You get to choose who you follow.
Yeah.
And I just always want to be a light. I don't want to complain. Now, again, like you said, I'm not going to pretend like nothing's wrong. I think it's important, give me one word for what you're angry about right now. I mean, let's just acknowledge it. We're losing choices, which Americans aren't used to.
Yeah. I mean, more than anything, just like yelling out, I feel, the sense of control it's out of my hands, or like losing control. And it's like, well, all you can do is be grounded in your moment right now,
Did we ever have control? We didn't. It's just that our choices are disappearing, right? I mean,
we just have a perception of what we have control over. Speaking of control and the things that we do have, I just made my nice little post right here that you can see. So it says, my daily things to keep me positive each day. These are things I do religiously without fail, because so number one is workout. So I get to look forward to doing something that elevates my blood pressure and my oxygen in my brain and my body. Another strategy that I do is meditation music, which
oh darn, my internet connection. Hold on, Kristen. See, I just jinxed it by saying we still have internet.
I was
Hold on. Hey, Kristen, you cut out for a while.
Okay.
I said I jinxed it by saying we still have internet connection. Okay, go back. You were talking about meditation music.
So one of the exercises that my therapist had me do was, I was just kind of inundated with a lot of the stuff that we were working on, which was very stressful. Just different things in my past, different things that I just hadn't dealt with. and my mind was just kind of all over the place. My anxiety had just kind of hit an all-time high. And she said, I want you to, because I listen to music pretty much from the second I wake up to the minute I go to bed. She said, find a meditation. She gave me a couple examples. Mine's on Pandora. It's called Awakening Peace Radio is my favorite one. She had me do it for 2 weeks. So when I was not at work, because we have music at work, obviously, that I can't control, I had to listen to meditation music, which was a trip because like I'm driving to work. Music can be a great thing, but it can also be a distracting thing. So when you have a radio that's screaming at you like, oh, go to Big John's Big Barn, whatever, to buy blah, blah, blah. You know what commercials I'm talking about. I'm not going to say his name, but my God, I'm like, oh, I got to get this guy off my radio. But anyway, so having disciplined myself to do it for 14 straight days was like a whole nother level. And so it's created a new sense of coping for me. So when I am in a moment of like, I need to take a breath. Yesterday, I was making cookies with my kids and they were all over the place. And I was like, y'all need to like step into your room for a minute. I need to chill out because they were kind of at each other. Turn my music on. I say, come out when you feel like you're balanced. They came out and it was great. We had our music on. And so now my kids are starting to use meditation as coping as well. And so when they're out, like they're starting to listen to that because I had it on this morning. Actually, my daughter has it connected to her little, whatever it's called, the hoverboard. Anyway, so yeah, meditation music is huge. I've met people through the world, you know, in my life that are like, oh, meditation isn't that voodoo, it's crazy. No, it's not. Meditation can be, you can look at it from two ways. Meditation can be perceived as just prayer time, quieting your mind. Meditation is extremely powerful. I've been doing it for 23 years. And I learned when I lived in California, like learning how to just kind of set things aside and respecting the fact that it's the art of meditation for a reason. That's why people call it the art of meditation, because it is an art and it is a continued practice. And that goes back to
connecting with something outside of us, right? Like
exactly. And stop being hard on yourself, because innately we get distracted because it's called the human brain. And because we're so inundated with so much information all the time, we can't not be distracted by our thoughts. We just can't. It's hard. Social media stimulates that part of our brain that creates and stimulates self-doubt even more than ever, because we're just inundated by the media that we see. But then we're also have this handheld thing that's just feeding us all the time, which leads me to number 3, which is read or share positive posts or books. For me, my husband said to me one day, you're not really a positive person by nature. You're, you know, he was really aggressive with me one day, talking to me, which like hurt my feelings, but it was a good thing for me to think, why am I, you know, posting so many positive things? I loved having people perceive me as like Chrissy the cheerleader, because that's, you know, who I was back in the day. I loved it. I thrived on it. People were like, you're the smiliest person I have ever met in my life. Are you ever sad? But what people didn't know at that time, yeah, I was sad. Like most of my life, I cried myself to sleep because I just was a sad person. When I tell people that, they're like, you? No way. Well, obviously, Wendy, you've lived with me, so you know that side of me. And I would not let hardly anybody see that unless they were really close to me. Yeah. But it made me rethink for about a year, what's my intention and why am I posting those positive thoughts? You know, so I had to kind of go through this shift in my mind. I stepped back from Facebook. I didn't have this mass exodus of, hey guys, I'm taking a break. I just stopped
posting. I did that like 3 times.
Yeah. So, and it's okay for people who do, because you know, the thought crossed my mind. I was like, let's just be quiet for a minute, you know, and just reflect. So then I kind of came full circle, did my own inner work and realized how much I did thrive on people thinking that I was, you know, positive Pollyanna and Chrissy the cheerleader. And what I have realized is that is who I am in nature. I am naturally a cheerleader for people, but I'm also a sad person too. And I have those sad moments. But what I do know, and every psychologist out there will tell you, the more you feed yourself with positive things, the more positive person you'll become. So a lot of times if I wake up in a bad mood and I find something that motivates me, I share it on my Facebook. And not every single meme means something to me. It just means like, oh, this is going to help somebody feel awesome today. So I do. So it comes from more of an authentic place than just that codependent person that needed to have, you know, how many more likes on that page to stimulate my ego to tell me that, you know, I was happy and I'm worthy today. So, so that's good. I mean, you fill yourself up with the things that, strengthen you. You know, I know a lot of people, they'll read a Bible every single morning because that's something, my dad does that. I think that's great. You know, for me, it goes back and forth. I have little positive notes posted throughout my house. One of my favorite things is make today, why can't today be the best day of your life? And funny story about that is I had it posted in my bathroom one morning that I had to confront somebody that was probably the most difficult confrontation of my life. And I woke up and was like, today's the day, man. We're breaking this down. And I, you know, with the bathroom, when I look over at that saying and I kind of started laughing, I'm like, well, this day's gonna suck, but why can't it be one of the best days of my life? And it turns out that conversation with that person was one of the best things I ever did in my life. It was a friendship of 22 years that dissolved that day. And I needed to do that for myself, you know, and that's
boundary,
okay.
yeah.
That's okay. You know, maybe she needed that in her life and I needed that in my life. Did you ever think somebody that you know for 22 years is going to happen? No, you don't think that's going to happen. But what happened was our, you know, missions in life or visions or passions in life were not aligned anymore. So we just had to have that confrontation and it sucked. But I'm a better person for it. And I, you know, I hold no malice for that person anymore. I just, it makes me sad in some ways to miss someone from 22 years, but it also, that's the other thing we don't have control over. You know, we're trying to all live our authentic selves. And sometimes that means some people are going to drop off and that sucks. But, you know, staying positive and knowing that that's a good thing for me. Personally, again, it was a hurtful time. I took my ownership in that whole relationship, and knew that, hey, I didn't have some good boundaries I should have put up. And that's what I learned from that. So yeah. So, positive stuff. You never know when that day you look at that little sticker that's hanging out on your mirror, how that's going to affect you that day. You wrote it 3 years ago. I mean, I have ones that literally from 5 years ago. One of them is, it's better to take the pain, of discipline today than the regret of not doing it, you know, in 5 years from now. Yes. I remember like trying to absorb that when I first heard it. I was like, what? Joyce Myers is a person that's really motivated my life. Oh my gosh. Yeah. 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 So, Joyce Myers, she, you know, we had like this epic thing happen in our salon. I was 5 months pregnant and, you know, things were like going just fine, right? And then everything just kind of like fell apart. And I woke up and I was like, okay, I was so terrified because I had a 5-month-old child, or, you know, baby in my belly. And I didn't know what to do. And it was one of the first times I ever felt hopeless, you know, talking about hope. Joyce Myers is one of the most single-handed people that I contribute to my life and my faith. I was very, you know, sure I was a Christian, but I started listening to her because she is really funny and she's super direct. So whether you're a Christian or not, the woman she'll tell you stuff that you don't want to hear. Like, get over yourself, get over it. Yeah. My other favorite phrase of hers, it is what it is, so deal with it. You know, I mean, she comes from a lot of trauma, as we all do. We have trauma. Everybody has it in their lifetime. But knowing her story, which I'm not going to, you know, look into Joyce Meyer. That's all I'm saying. But I listened to her for 365 days, every single night when.
Oh, darn it. I'm losing my connection again. Oh, darn it.
With you too is that I became aware of David Goggins. I'm trying to figure out who, I can't remember, but David Goggins, I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's one of the highest decorated Navy SEALs, and he went through Hell Week 3 different times. I ended up getting his book on audio because I'm not a very good reader. And I used to get down on myself, but you know what? Peace out, thoughts. I don't care. I want to hear this information. I don't read very well.
Thank God for audiobooks, right? Audiobooks.
So, but I did end up loving the audiobook so much that I actually got the book, and it's called Can't Hurt Me.
He's amazing.
I have to say, I didn't expect how brutal this book was going to be about him talking about his trauma. I was like really taken aback by it, to be honest. I was driving on the freeway, so engrossed in his story that for a second I like kind of forgot where I was going. It was like the author writes it so well and articulates his story. But what's cool about the audio or the Audible audio version is that he jumps in after each chapter. So it's new for Audible. They don't usually do that where they have, it's almost like a podcast, but also a book reading. So it was cool for him to kind of talk about each chapter. And I mean, I'm telling you, for him growing up the way that he did, he, you know, what he says is I was born to be a statistic, and really changing your mindset. I feel like I've just scratched the surface on possibilities of how to change my perception of who I am and all the things that, you know, that hold us back and keep us from being the person that we are meant to be.
I am so mad my internet keeps going in and out. So there was a part that was frozen. Ah,
no worries.
Hey.
Technology.
So I have about 10 more minutes. I would like you to just quickly tell people like where you started your journey and where you are now, because I think it's really important to know like what you can do now that you couldn't do before, or whatever you want to share. Because I don't even think it's necessarily the numbers, just, you know.
No, speaking of those numbers, like people that see me, they go, oh my God, how much have you lost? Like 100? I'm like, technically on the scale, I've only lost like 20. But because I've lost so much body fat and gained so much muscle, the way my body actually, how I stand and how my body holds its frame, I look different. People are like, you walk different because my body has learned how to use the muscles in the correct way. I mean, I still have some things that I correct, but work on. I've been in PT for my neck, my shoulder, my pelvis, and both of my knees over the last 2 years. So it's been a process. It's like my tendons and my muscles had to learn how to do things the correct way because they were just kind of stuck. But what can I do? Let me say, like the top 3 things that I can do differently now that I couldn't do 3 years ago. One of the best things ever is that you don't realize as you get older and you're sedentary, you roll out of your bed. Now I actually physically like sit up. I engage my abs every morning to sit up. So I often, most days, get a giggle out of that. I don't know why it makes me giggle, like, I just sat up. I didn't have to roll out today. So that's just one thing. Probably the best thing ever is I get to play with my kids. You know, I get to play with my kids now. I'm not going to sit here and tell you and decorate this like I'm awesome. I am pain-free. I don't have any challenges, because I do. I still do, but that keeps me, you know, it keeps me in the game. But yeah, playing with my kids, like watching my kids, and they say this to me often, Mom, you can totally do that now. You couldn't do that before. You know, and also it's like the joy of seeing my kids see my health journey, because it is my life's mission to have my kids live a healthy life, physically and mentally, obviously, but physically, so they don't go through what my husband and I have with our weight and challenges like that. But probably, I don't know, just picking up my combs when I drop them when I'm doing hair. You know, when I first started this journey, I remember right before I started, like taking a grunt and having to like think about bending over to pick up my comb was like awful, you know? And so now I can like pick up, I can squat like a mother, which is like amazing. And it's so funny watching my clients watch me through this journey and like just recognizing the mechanics of my body. They're like, dude, you totally just like pick that up. And like, I don't have to think about it, which is interesting, because in the first year, even my brain was so wired to having to stop to think about picking something up or like taking that breath, because I was going to embrace that pain but I was like, oh, I can do it. But it's funny because I had to like get past that block in my brain. I can't even explain it. It is a trip. to recognize that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've gone through lots of changes. I mean, you know, like I said, I get up still every morning. I'm always kind of contending with something where something's, you know, irritated and angry. And then, you know, I've learned a lot about physical therapy, when to heat, when to ice. I use KT tape a lot that helps take inflammation down in muscles and joints. I've learned how to properly tape. So, you know, that kind of calms things down that are irritated. I have a workout buddy too. That's one thing I wanted to tell you guys too, is that I have a workout partner. Speaking of not doing it alone, I literally have prayed for years, like, send me somebody that will be in line with my schedule and align with my journey. Because I have lots of friends that want to work out with me, but the reality of like getting up at 4:30 and driving to the gym is not everybody's jam. So my next door neighbor and I do it, and we go to CrossFit 3 days a week, and I do yoga 2 to 3 days a week. So, and then I usually walk as well. But having that's been like amazing.
So,
I mean, 'cause
accountability.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. She and I often, I feel like it's like once a week, we're like, dude, I'm so glad I have you.
Yeah.
You know, having that accountability partner, and we don't make excuses. You know, before I had her in my life, this is another point to say, I know we're kind of closing on this, but for the first 6 months that I went to the gym, I went by myself. I found the right gym. So I had coaches at my gym that were amazing, that made me feel empowered to come and be welcome there, even though it was funny watching me next to the amazing athletes that are there. But I listened to the song Champion by Carrie Underwood every single day that I went to the gym. And I cried either on the way to or from the gym at least like twice a week when I went, out of the 3 days that I went to CrossFit. You know, I got to a point where my alarm would go off. And at the time I was still contending with migraines. So that fear, and that's the other thing about fear, you know, the other side of fear, there's hope. So, you know, for me, I set my mind that I'm hopeful, that I want to be the champion that I admire, people that I admire. I want to be the champion of my own life and my own self. So I would wake up, even if I had a migraine, and I would just say, champions, get up. Sorry for my language, but get the fuck out of bed now.
Yes.
You know, and it's dumb because setting up your, like, making sure your shoes and your socks are in your bathroom, and making sure your pants and your shirts and your bra, you know, don't forget that, are set up, you know. So setting yourself up for those things allows you not to fall into the gaps of excuses. But until she came along, I don't know what I would have done without her jumping in, because she helped me not make excuses anymore. She makes 0 excuses ever. She's a rock star. I loved it because she didn't fall into my, like, oh, I'm sorry you're feeling bad, Kristen. She's like, well, hope you feel better. You know, she's not abrupt or aggressive at all. It was just like, I loved that I was paired with somebody that didn't make excuses, because I'm the queen of them.
Well,
so
a lot of us are.
Yeah.
So times are a little crazy.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of time at home. What is your hope during this quarantine? What is your hope for yourself, and what is your hope for the world?
Well, I feel like my hope is already, I mean, watching the humanity that's happening and people reaching out and the philanthropic things that people are coming up with at home, like, that's way cool. And how we can stay, you know, have that social distancing, but still be helpful. Like, that is so cool. And I guess my hope is that we continue to do that. Probably one of my biggest hopes is that people who are dealing with mental health challenges find someone to cling to. They find someone to call, or things to watch, or I hope that we all check in with our neighbors and check in with each other. I guess that's, you know, the biggest hope. My other hope is, you know, teaching my kids to just roll with the punches, man. You know, because every day, like, let's wake up, let's start out with our workout and go from there. I mean, schooling, we have all that stuff, but those are probably the biggest things I have.
My hope is that we just all come out of this more united, more empowered, more positive, more, forward focused, to stop fighting with each other. It's just so,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's one thing that, you know, being positive, Pollyanna, I'm always trying to find that, positive spin on things, obviously, but understanding, looking at it from the positive, that fear dictates so much of our language and how we treat ourselves and other people.
Yes.
And being in the hair industry and seeing lots of people kind of lash out at each other because there's been this divide of like, did you do the socially responsible thing and close, or did you do the, I'm going to work until they close me down? It doesn't matter. You're on your road, stay in your lane. We all have stuff that we have to deal with. And a lot of it is our fear. Like, I have to provide for my family. I'm going to go to work until this is done, until they tell me I can't anymore. Respect for each other, but also just, I guess just giving people grace and knowing that we're all dealing with fear, and we can judge each other all the time for even being butt heads to each other. But on the other hand, I guess it's just trying to be, show that kindness to people that you want people to, the golden rule. But
I wore the shirt today.
Right on. Being kind is cool.
Kind of wrinkly.
Yeah.
Well,
totally.
I mean, having known you for a very long time, I just want to tell you how proud I am of you. Both of us have had a lot of challenges in our lives, and it's made us who we are.
Yeah.
We don't have to hide those parts of us. It's, but
yeah.
To me, it's just fuel. So I'm just so proud of you and everything that you've accomplished in spite of shit that you've gone through.
Yeah. I've said this to you before, Wendy, and we're being super sappy.
Oh, hold on, Kristen. Oh, shoot. Darn you, internet. Just when she was going to say something nice about me. Oh my gosh. Darn it. I might have to text her. I don't know if she has her. I suppose I can edit this, but this really stinks. But you know what? This is not about me. Maybe you guys didn't need to hear. Now she's gone. Hold on. Oh my gosh.
So I don't know what happened. I think my tablet just died. Is what happened.
So I'm over here and I'm like, sure, I'm going to hold this up. I'm like, sure enough, the minute she's going to start saying nice things about me, it cut out.
It was a good one too.
Dang it. But then I'm like, you know what? This isn't about me. This is not why I did this. Like.
So did your screen, does it give you an hour, or did it just cut off on your side or my side?
No, it just, first it went to Kristen iPad and then it was just gone. But anyway, the moment that we clicked out is when I just told you that I'm proud of you, and I don't know what you said. So
I'm just saying the same thing that I've always said to you, Wendy, is that, the grace that you showed me years ago by just trying to help me see myself, the days that you were like, I don't really know why you feel like you need to do that, but you just had such a way of grace about it. You didn't judge me back then. You didn't make me feel, you didn't shame me. You were just like, kind of like, you're better than that, but that's, whatever. So I appreciate that a lot, Wendy. I told you that before, but I just really do. So
yeah.
Well,
thanks for coming on today. My hope is just to give hope and, reach out, connect to people that you haven't talked to for a while. Maybe Absolutely. Now is the time to mend fences with someone. Reach out to someone that you haven't talked to for a while, put aside any kind of pride and just, reach out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm getting verklempt.
Well, Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for having me, despite our technical difficulties. And, I could go in and edit it out, but I'm going to leave it because it's proof that not everything works the way it's supposed to, and you just have to roll with it, right?
No, nothing's perfect, man.
Nothing's perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Okay, thanks, Mama.
Let me know if you need anything.
Love ya.
Love you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.